that we should make up another holiday, and I think it's going to be today, and I think we should call it the best louder than a mom of the year. What do you think? The stories have been amazing, absolutely incredible. Thank you so much. But there is one holiday next weekend that we're going to be celebrating here, Krampus Fest. And if you don't know who Krampus is, he's Saint Nick's sidekick, and he is the guy that Santa's like, yeah, this little kid's a shit. So Krampus grabs him, puts him in a bag, and carries him away. So for hundreds of years in the Alpine countries, little kids were scared of Krampus or Krampus, whatever. Anyway, we're gonna have a festival here with art and vendors and mulled wine and food.
Mulled wine?
Mulled wine. Glue wine. That's what we call it. All right. So for our final storyteller, he's a Chicago celebrity. For the the penultimate storyteller, number 7 in our lineup.
You know what? Rick did kind of say something nasty to me.
Wait, who did?
Rick was the last person. He did kind of, dish me about the trivia contest. So.
Did he want to win a tote?
He just was
We should just give him a tote if he wants one so badly. You know, I mean, you can have one.
No. He's kind of struggled to tell a story.
Okay, all right, that's good. Fair enough. Is that agreeable, Rick?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Chicago celebrity, Will Klinger. He's half of the Famous Brothers. He's the host of Wild Chicago, and he finally just got married. Put your hands together for Will Klinger.
I was going to bring my script, but Mia didn't have one, and Hall says he's off book, so I'm going to wing it. All of my formative years, and a good chunk of my adult years, Christmas was a road trip to Grammy Whitla's in Sharon, Pennsylvania. Now, this was usually a pretty quick trip from Warren, PA, because my dad routinely drove way over the speed limit. He would reach speeds of like 80 miles per hour in a 55 zone on a 2-lane highway, passing car after car like they were standing still. My mom would indicate her displeasure occasionally by just delicately placing her hand on the dashboard. Never, Bill, slow down. It was just this. Dad always got the message because there is nothing louder than a mom with her hand on the dashboard. I always try to get the name of the show into my story. Check. While Mom was doing this, I was sitting behind the driver's seat, imagining that we were in a long-distance road rally and that I was the navigator/announcer. Klinger pulls swerves into the passing lane, and yes, he's overtaken another contestant. Now he's approaching a Dodge Dart just ahead, and yes, he'll pass him too. Now Klinger's in the lead. Now, not all of this was in my head. I didn't actually vocalize any of this monologue. And the race was inevitably lost when my sister Duds would get car sick. Klinger in the lead car is pulling to the side of the road. Boy, you hate to see that. Borge! That's me throwing up at the sight of my sister throwing up. Once we reached Sharon, we would coalesce with the Drurys, which was my mother's older sister's family. And now Granny's house was truly jammed because there were 6 of us and 7 of them. 4 Klinger kids, 5 Drury kids. I would often room with my cousin Fritz down in the basement. Fritz had style. One year he had these sailor's pajamas that had a flap in the front with buttons down either side. He looked like he just jumped off a sailing vessel in the 1800s, you know? It was really cool. Until he had to take a pee in the middle of the night because he had like 10 buttons he had to deal with before he could reach his thing. So I would hear these sounds from the the bathroom. Oh, shit, come on, shit. Needless to say, that pea-stained set of pajamas did not return the next Christmas. Now, there were certain confused holiday traditions at Grammy's that frankly left me dazed. I always try to get the title of the thief into this story. Check! One of these confusing traditions, on Christmas morning, all the kids had to sit still on the stairs, the stairway from the first to the second floor, in our pajamas, before we could run down and tear open all our stocking gifts and one non-stocking gift. This was also, by the way, when Dad and Uncle Felix would bring out their movie cameras and the accompanying bank of Klieg lights. I don't know what, back in the day, these movie cameras needed an enormous amount of light to capture any kind of image. So there's hours of home movies with us kids just squinting into these bright lights being shined on us, sitting on the stairs, opening our gifts, playing with our toys, smile at the camera, which was tough when your eyes are bleeding. You know what I'm saying? Well, eventually we got the cue to go, so we bolt downstairs, tear open all our stocking gifts, and one non-stocking gift. And then all the kids had to sit down with the adults to breakfast and wait until every person at the table had finished. And we all loved Grammy Whitler dearly, but she was the most methodical breakfast eater in Christendom. Minutes would go by between bites. She could make a cup of coffee last for hours. It seemed like hours. And she seemed totally oblivious to being surrounded by, 9 fidgeting kids inwardly groaning and just privately begging, please, just finish. But Eleanor Whitler had her own pace, her own way of doing things, as my cousin Bob Graham can attest. He's sitting here, he's come for this show. He can back me up on this. She was singular. Her husband had died of pneumonia at the age of 33. Grammy never remarried. She devoted the rest of her life to her children, her grandchildren, and her church. She was a devout Presbyterian. One Christmas late in her life, one of my cousins, one of her grandchildren, showed up at Christmas with their fiancé, and Grammy got wind of the fact that this fiancé was an agnostic, definitely on the fence about all things religious. So Grammy was determined to convert him to Presbyterianism, to Christianity. But her master plan turned out to be wildly misguided. Step 1, place a Bible in his room and hope that he reads it.
That'll work.
Step 2, rent a video called A Hanna-Barbera Christmas and insist that all your grandkids and their significant others sit down and watch it with you. Problem was, this video was the most preposterous piece of Christian crap ever created, featuring these cartoon kids that go back in time to witness the birth of Christ, and including these inane bits of dialogue like, gee, that camel just spit in my eye and now I can't see the manger. Or hey, Susie, I know what gold is, but what the heck is myrrh? And who's frankincense? Or, we better go tell that darn Pontius Pilate to back off or else. I mean, it was just really lame. And about 10 minutes into this hour-long video, we're all checking our watches, except for Grammy Whitler, who is sound asleep. Grammy had a bad case of holiday narcolepsy. Every Christmas, she would stay up to the wee hours every night, making sure everything was prepared for the next day. And so she would have to take cat naps throughout the daylight hours. Well, these naps could last like either 20 minutes or 20 seconds. She could be out like a light, and you'd look back a moment later, and she'd be looking at you with, what did I miss kind of look on her face. Well, I had an angle where I could see the TV and Grammy, and my brother Jimmy had the remote control to the TV. So as Hanna-Barbera Christmas abomination continued, I would signal my brother every time I saw Grammy start to nod off, and he would fast forward the video. And then when I'd see her eyes pop up, and I'd go like that, and he'd take his finger off the fast forward. In this way, we were able to get that hour-long video down to about 15 minutes. But even at that reduced length, I'm pretty sure that Hanna-Barbera managed to convert my future cousin-in-law from an agnostic to a full-blown atheist. Now, the highlight of any Christmas in Sharon was the Christmas pageant we put on Christmas Eve in Grammy's living room. You know, all the costumes were homemade, bed sheets for robes, you know, tinsel wire hangers for angel wings. This pageant was the only theatrical production in which you got your biggest role your first year in the show. Because if there was a newborn in the household, they landed the role of baby Jesus. I mean, 1 year out of the womb, and you're in the lead, you know, it was incredible. Some years it would be a doll, but other years, you know, a star is born, literally. I'll never forget my big shot at the big time, because I don't remember it. I was a baby, for Christ's sake. But word is that like a Roman senator at Easter, I nailed it. Too soon? I didn't cry. I didn't even squirm. And I hear that I totally rocked the halo. If there had been reviews come out the next morning, I think the headlines would have read, Klinger puts the ch in cherubic. You know what I'm saying? But after that, my pageant career was all downhill. I peaked early. Because once you were no longer a baby, you got relegated to parts like, you know, the shepherds and wise men who had no lines, basically just stood around in a bed sheet with a towel on your head, trying to spot the Star of Bethlehem with these Klieg lights in your eyes, you know. If you were lucky, you got bumped up to Angel Gabriel. He had lines and he got to stand on a table. And at the end of your career, you're back, baby, because you're playing a lead, either Mary or Joseph. You've come full circle. Well, with the passage of time, came the splintering, the sad but inevitable splintering of our family Christmas. When Grammy Whitla passed away, the Klingers and Whitlas no longer spent Christmas together. And when my mom and dad died, me and my 3 siblings, we tried to keep getting together over Christmas, but last year we were in 2 different places. This year we'll probably be in 4. Tug on the heartstrings, check. But memories of Christmases at Grammy Whitlas have a strong pull. So maybe, you know, sometime soon, me and my brothers and sisters and cousins and aunts and uncles and nieces and nephews will gather once again in late December and perhaps even put on that classic Christmas pageant from years gone by. I call Joseph.
To save us all from sins of our own.